Welcome back, Wanderers. So now it is time to continue with my Goetia series. And in this video, I straight away want to give you an outline of a ritual on how to evoke Goetic spirits so that you are already, after my initiatory video, ready to actually get down to work. All further videos in this series will just be down to specific demons, perhaps experiences with them, maybe some tips and tricks. But with this year already, I want to um, give you enough to actually go and get on working. And perhaps this is all what you will need, and later videos will maybe just give a spark of an idea of how to further refine your work, or perhaps just seeing how other practitioners do. And if you did have some experience with Goetic magic already, and you perhaps have some suggestions, some additions, or even some critique, I would surely like to hear your comments. And now, with that being said, what I'm giving here is the outline, what is working for me. And especially if you go online and see, like on Reddit, for example, you see how people do these works, you'll see that there's a huge and wide variation of it. So there's no hard rules here. And what works for one person may not work for the other person. So just always, within magic, always see everything that I put forward as a suggestion. These are not hard rules. This is not like it's exactly like this, and I'm no Abrahamic who goes by the book. And yes, not going by the book is essential here, because if I would go by the old 17th century writings on the Goetic magic, I sure would have some insane preparatory and in ritual practices that would eat a lot of my money, a lot of my time, and from my perspective, doesn't actually do much to further the ritual. I do come from a very, very chaos point of magic, so just stripping down to the bare bones and just seeing what works, which is also why I advise you, if you've never done this before, if you've never done evocations, Goetic evocations, to actually have a journal at hand and write down your feelings and experiences when it comes to the ritual. Meaning, which is also one of the first points I want to come into with the overall outline of the magic, which is the preparation. So to be properly prepared, I would suggest you get into meditation practices. Very often say that I'm not a friend of meditation in itself, because it eats a lot of time and it can get boring. And yes, there are some great ways on how to do meditation that it doesn't get boring, and that if it is boring, then you're not doing it right, and so on and so forth. So there's a ton of discussions on the matter of meditation online, and I just say do whatever works best for you. There are different kinds of meditation. There is the type where you calm down. There's even types where you sort of like haven't come from an excited background, although it surely does get back to the inside, so to speak. So meditation, why do I recommend meditation? It is simply because if you're in certain brainwave states, let's put it at that, you'll have a greater capacity of seeing, hearing, feeling, sensing entities. So if you're like in your everyday kind of brainwave states, sort of like working focused on something, etc., like in a conversation or in a loud bar or something, you would be like in these better brainwave states. And if a spirit of any kind is calling out to you, you will 99.9% not even notice that. So you would at least have to have the alpha brainwave state. And I very often say that the alpha brainwave state is enough, but I do have to sort of like correct myself here. What I mean actually by the alpha brainwave state is enough. This is when you're like relaxed in front of the TV, not at work, not doing anything particular, just, yeah, a relaxation state. If you're doing magic, you may not even notice when you're in the alpha stages already and you're drifting into the theta state. I know some out there will definitely say they notice the difference, but sometimes, at least in my personal experience, I only notice the difference if there's a noise within the house and it suddenly jolts me. It's just a small noise that otherwise I wouldn't have even noticed. Not in the alpha state either. It would have just gone past me. And yeah, that's one great indicator of being in a deeper state. If, I don't know, my water boiler has the it sometimes just clicks out of nowhere. Maybe like an hour ago, I boiled some water or something, and it just clicks, yeah, randomly. Or my fridge just does some weird noises. And these noises, they really, they're like a jolt within you. And that's when you know you're in a deeper state of meditation. And getting used to this type of deeper state of meditation and getting into it quicker, that's the point which you want to use, well, as a preparation, simply because in those states, hearing, sensing, feeling, even smelling uh, the entities comes so much easier. And there's a little bit more to it as well, because the first times you do it, even though you may be in those meditative states, you might get pictures in your head. You might hear a voice in your head. Um, you might even sense something. And very often, to the untrained practitioner, they can either be just simply your own thoughts that you're trying to project onto the ritual, most often than not, actually. Um, Sensing something could just be some kind of drift. And seeing pictures in your mind could simply be you yourself. Um, so a lot of practice is actually important here in spirit evocation to discern the voices, the pictures, just from your own fantasy. And that's where your journal comes in very handy, is where you write down these things that you sensed and felt, etc. And if it's just confirmation bias, then it probably was just you. Telling you things that you already know, probably just you. I have found that with some spirits, not all actually, some spirits you can ask them to speak in a different voice if you hear them. Yeah, if you hear them, to speak in a different voice than your own thoughts. Some of them comply, some don't. So that's just as a little pro tip here. So yes, coming to the preparation. There's another preparation step that some skip entirely. I do sometimes, but I must say that if doing this, it really can help, uh, sometimes tremendously, and that is fasting. So, and there are different types of fastings out there. So, there's like abstaining from certain foods or all food, sometimes even drink, sleep, um, sex, and just various different things. What I noticed here is I myself am on a sort of a diet right now where I just eat high protein while working out, just to burn away the fat and building up muscle mass. And in itself, it is not fasting. It really isn't, because I'm actually eating quite a lot of protein. Um, but I noticed that there is sort of like a starvation element to it. Well, not starvation, but what is happening here is that focus, even at work, feels so much easier with it. So I'm not bloated, although some people say like protein farts and stuff, but no, you get used to it rather quickly. I'm not bloated. I don't feel heavy after meals. I actually feel energized after meals and stuff like that. So staying away from like processed food and sugars and uh, like seed oils and stuff is really a good way. So essentially, just eating very healthy is a way for me to have the same effect as this fasting, and um, not spanking the monkey. Um, really does help, just simply for men, and I'm not talking about women here, for men, because this release of the creative force, this force you actually want to keep within you. So the Hindus have spoken a lot about this, the Vedics, and there's a lot to be said for it. They take it to other extremes where they never do anything like that, and as magicians, I think, as Western occultists, as pagans, I don't think that is within our tradition so much. It has too much of a monastery vibe, like Deus Vult and stuff like that. So it's not my cup of tea. Now, so whichever way you find fasting to be appealing, or sort of like getting you more focused, you can do that. It is not a must, but especially as a beginner, I would try to take in every advantage that you get. So if you've never done this before, and you really want success, really try to do the fasting part as well. How long? Like I said, there's many different views online. How you do it, many different views online. Try what's best for you. The same goes for the meditation. There's so many ways, um, and everyone has to find their own way. So, further to the preparation. So, if you have like a ritual room, or maybe outside, some people really prefer like the woods or some nature spot. I think I've done that like twice in a group setting, actually, with very lovely people. Um, the issue was that I just felt cold. It wasn't, again, my cup of tea. I like inside rituals. I have actually crafted my living room to be a ritual space. So the place where I'm sitting right now is hardly a living room. It masks as a living room for any kind of visitors I might have, but they will notice the lack of television or much electronics in here, and it is a very wide and open space, which I can perfectly use for a circle. So I know for some people this is not necessarily the an option, because you might live in just one single one bedroom apartment, and then I get, of course, the space constraints. So you might want to work out in the open somewhere, without prying eyes, I might add, because they can be extremely distracting. As within my group setting, which we had some prying eyes. Unfortunately, we didn't. It was actually quite secluded, but still, people wandering around all the time. So, you want to have your setting right, which is a ritual space that looks ritually. In nature, the open space is already a ritual space, so not much to work on here. But if you're inside, try to um, work at night. Outside as well. Try to work at night, where there's really no sunlight. That works really well for evocation methods, because if you want to see the entity, and most times they will not come visually, but if they do and you see that, it is very often because of the darkness. It's so much easier to see with the darkness, and if you have any kind of distracting things on your wall, as do I very often like to take a long black bed sheet or something and put it over, like I have bookshelves over here, and put it over my bookshelf so that I just have this black screen where I can stare into. That's sort of like my scrying mirror. I do have a scrying mirror, but the thing is so tiny and it's just annoying the hell out of me. So that's why I literally replace it with a black bed sheet. And your lighting obviously shall come from candles only, very dim lit. Then you might want to have an altar with paraphernalia. I like skulls a lot, so I have this plaster skull on here, and I have nice candles. You might notice me looking over there, just describing my altar. Yes, incense holders. You can get very fancy ones. You can get very creative with this here. Just make your altar very appealing to you. Keep it clean. And with that, you already have sort of the setting. Wait a moment, I made some notes around here. What did I want to speak of? Yeah, the timing obviously is in the night. Yes, of course. So if you want to wear special robes or anything, which also brings me to a sort of preparation where you wash yourselves beforehand. So it could be just a proper shower or bathing, or you can make a ritualized type of cleansing. There is one that I like to use. It is very specific, and it is definitely not part of my tradition. I mean, their tradition is not something I abide to, but I think that their ritual washing is really quite nice, and that is the Islamic wudu, what they call it. So if you would try to look for it, there's instructions online. It's would be just WUDU, wudu. Yeah. So, and it seems it has a very ritualistic feel to it already, and I think it's a great way to do the ablution. So, and then you might want to put on special clothing, like I have. One pro tip, which you'll always get from me, is perhaps wearing a mask. Why do I wear a mask in ritual, especially in ritual? It is because I am, with this mask, impersonating a great magician. So outside of the ritual chamber, I am just everyday me. But with the clothing and especially the mask, I literally become someone else. I can even switch up masks. I have different ones. Obviously, some of them handcrafted and created. I'm not going to show them here. Sometimes with little amulets that I bought online, just stuck on there, and little crystals and drawings all over it. I like to take these plain white masks that have found their way, like in horror films and stuff. Well, you can just actually use them and just paint them and the like. So that's what they're quite handy, and they might cost like $3 or something. So it's not much. Yeah. So for different workings, where like impersonates a certain deity, or which we're gonna come to later, where I impersonate a saint actually. So you might wonder, I thought you were pagan. Let me get to that. So, with that in mind, wear special clothes, perhaps a mask. That's a pro tip, really a pro tip, because you actually feel that you're someone else, um, that you can be this great magician. For a beginner, this is absolutely gold, simply because magic does work a lot around belief, and if you can imbue this belief on yourself that you're a great magician, so you shall be. Good. Further preparation, if you want to use the traditional circles, there's like sheets online where it's already printed on there. I have one, but I never used it. I just simply used it for aesthetic reasons, and to get this nice looking in witchcraft interested person to get to know me better. Let's put it at that. He's like, oh, you're so spiritual, and you're so, oh wow, you must be a great master. Yeah, sure. Okay. That aside, now let's get into the ritual itself. Oh, I forgot one preparation. Circle, yeah. You will cast the circle anyway, but you don't have to have like a visual representation on the floor. But you will need the triangle of art. And you can literally copy it out of a book, because the triangle of art on a normal sheet of paper is just a little bit too small. I like to take uh, just a bigger piece of paper, which you can get like in arts and crafts stores for like. Surely you had this as a child in school. Just bigger sheets of paper with like 10 pieces on them or something like that. If you can find a way to print it out, great. If not, I mean, there's online services that can do it in specific formats, so it's not expensive either. But if you really want to put in sort of like the work for your preparation magic, because the preparation in itself is already the magic too, then I would recommend maybe just get a black marker and draw the triangle, copy it out of one of the Goetia books or from online, and draw it. Or you can do it as me, because I'm not using the Abrahamic stuff so much. I just literally draw a triangle, black triangle, without writing things out, and a little circle in the middle. So you got all that, you got all set up. Lit your incense. There are correspondences for incense online, which demon wants what incense and the like. But I just usually use frankincense, because it's just a classical one and everyone seems to respond to it. So I'm not getting too overly specific. You can, and maybe as a beginner, you might want to research that, and absolutely, well, you may use it if you like. Anything you can get to make it more specific for you as a beginner, yes, definitely go for it. For more experience, you can go for frankincense, or just leave it out completely. I do that quite frequently as well. I do like the bare bones, bare knuckles type of magic, which I obviously adopted from chaos magic. Now, got it all set up, light the candles, have the incense going, got your altar in the middle, you got sigil ready. If you want, you could have drawn the sigil yourself, but don't worry about it if you just print it out. And then obviously you will have written down your intent. Should be a short sentence in past tense, maybe sounding a little bit pompous, like medieval language with these and thous and stuff like that. And learning it by heart, obviously. And then you would get into a meditative state. So I say meditative state, but it's not actually, it sort of is, but you just calm down because you might have just rearranged your living room or the space in the woods or whatnot. So just calming down. Let's call it just calm down, breathe in a few times, and then you can go on and cast the circle. I'm not going to get into details on how you cast your circle because there are so many different kinds out there on how to do it. Many will perhaps go for the LBRP, the Lesser Banishing Ritual of the Pentagram. There are variations which I do like to use, which I found in more Odinistic type of circle casting with giving the sign of the hammer, for example. You can use a ritual dagger. You can use the sword mudra. Different variations, whatever floats your boat. So cast the circle, and you will want to now, that's where I'm getting to with the masks, you might want to impersonate a big sorcerer. That's where I come to a specific saint. Saint Cyprian, to be exact, is what I really like. You for any kind of tradition that is out there. So if you choose to work with different kinds of spirits, you will actually try to use magicians or like saints, yeah, for example, that are tied to the tradition. So I wouldn't conjure up Chinese spirits with Merlin. It just doesn't quite fit together. So because we're speaking about the Goetic spirits here, obviously the impersonation of God here is very of the Hebrew God, might add, is very central. So you have statements like Naka, Yodhe Vauhe, or Iyawe, whichever way to pronounce it. There's a Gnostic type where instead of Iyawe, you just say Iyao, which is also very tied to Greek understanding, so it's not very much Christian. Obviously, I'm not so comfortable with the Abrahamic type of conjuring, but there is a middle ground here, and this is Saint Cyprian. If you research Saint Cyprian, he was like this great magician, a pagan one, and then became a Christian, but he is sort of like standing in between worlds. In my understanding, at least, he has never actually cast away the pagan side of him, and he's just added a layer of Christianity to him, but with a very pagan understanding. So that's why I like to use Saint Cyprian. The demons of the Goetia really respond well to him, and with your sort of like statement of who you are, obviously you can go for yourself. That's not an issue here, but as I said, for anyone who is new to this, And even seasoned practitioners, you'll see that this impersonating is really a good boost to the overall ritual. So you would state something like, I don't know, I am the great master Saint Cyprian. Just call it out into the darkness. Imagine the darkness if you want to, sort of like the universe, the all. And I am the great master Saint Cyprian. I am the one who controls the storms of Mount Olympus. I can give you the um, full text of what I use if you like. But yeah, something to learn by heart and something to feel during the ritual. You are that person right now, and that's where a mask really helps. So if you put on the mask that you perhaps created for yourself as Saint Cyprian, then in that moment you are Saint Cyprian. Obviously, if you look at like statues, pictures of Saint Cyprian, he's just like a bearded guy. Perhaps just wear a fake beard. I don't know. Now that you've done that, you've declared who you are, and you will declare that you will, your will is to be followed. Any variation of that can be found online. Again, is very up to you what you feel is best. Yeah, so in the traditional kind of way, it would be that you would say Ea Asher Ea, which is directly taken from the book of Genesis, which in itself is a very powerful statement. It is to say that I was who I was, I am who I am, and I will be who I will be. So, sort of like setting the stage that your will is to be followed, and nothing else actually matters. So, because no one else will tell you what you will be, it is I will be who I will be. So, if you're comfortable with using that statement, you can perhaps even drop the Hebrew statement and just use the English one. That's a very powerful statement to use at the end of declaring who you are, perhaps. Then you would actually, with your sigil, I like to sit. Some people like to stand, but my legs get tired, so I like to sit, and I have the sigil within the triangle, and I'm staring at the sigil in a very specific manner. So at first I'm looking into the white spaces of the sigil, not directly at the sigil. I do this until I feel that the sigil in itself has been imprinted into my heart. So that's, if people think or say that a sigil in itself is holy and has to be treated with respect and so on and so forth, perhaps for your feelings and your tradition or whatever, that might be the case. But in essence, it is just ink on paper. What actually happens here is that the sigil is imprinted onto your heart. Well, that's how I like to see it. But yeah, the sigil is drawn within you. That is the whole reason for staring at the sigil. Then when that has happened, I go into this mode of deeper meditation. And that's where I go like from an alpha state to an actual theta state. And with that, you stare directly at the sigil. And you call for the demon's name 9 times. It is not just a call, it is what's recently, what do you mean recently? It is often referred to as vibrating. So this comes deep from your stomach, is almost like growling. So if I would like say for Asmodeus, Asmodai, I would be like, Asmodeus. Yes, so that's sort of like this vibrating, because it actually just vibrates your vocal cords very deep, and yeah, you with the intent of calling the demon. That's how you do it. And now comes the saucy bits. After you've called him 9 times, you can then sort of go over in praising his name. So, if we would like take the example of Baal, or Baal, as they sometimes say. I don't know this by heart, so I have to sort of like just see here. So just take the first spirit. You just read something like Baal, you are the first principal spirit. You are a king ruling in the east, and your name is Baal. You maketh thee to go invisible. You ruleth over 66 legions of infernal spirits. Throw in some greats and stuff, sort of like, oh, you great king, you appeareth in diverse shapes, sometimes like a cat, sometimes like a toad, and sometimes like a man, and so on and so forth. Yeah, just take these descriptions and praise the name. So just remember that these are separate intelligences. I do not buy into the thing that they're part of our psychology, simply because they can give you answers and react in completely different ways to you, so they are not a part of your psychology. You might have parts of your psychology that are akin to these intelligences, but they themselves are separate. Now, you praised him. These are your evocation keys, the praise. And then you can go back to your meditative state. After you called out his praises, then you state your intent. As I said, in past tense, archaic language, sort of like, I don't know, um, I want for my neighbor to shut the fuck up. In archaic language. um, and then that's where you get your black sheet, or if you're like out in the dark in the woods, it's just the blackness of what's in front of you. And you stare into the blackness while going deeper into meditative states. If you're particularly lucky, and if the demon really, really likes you, he will come in full appearance. Most often than not, if you visually see something, it is very often just shadowy outlining kind of thing. That's perhaps 90% of the visual kind of stuff. So, yes, I said before that they might come in very almost flamboyant kind of forms, sitting on top of dragons, boars, um, being a whole group of people, um, stuff like that. But most often than not, if I do see them in the full, I see them just simply as humans with a little bit of a quirk, so to speak, like different eyes, or I don't know, bigger hands, just just very humanoid, just like, I don't know, Star Trek aliens. Yeah. So, and if you're prone like me to Star Trek stuff, don't be surprised if you get like Commander Worf in front of you or something. Never happened to me, but I mean, just everything is possible, and the descriptions of how they look, I have hardly ever seen anything that suggests that they actually do look like this. I think this is just perhaps in itself an evocation key that you try to visualize this, then you get something completely different, some completely, yeah, someone else. Well, you're not getting someone else. Now, about getting someone else, people might have the fear that they're getting a different kind of spirit. And they were like, how do I know if it really is him? And in the old books, it says I have to sort of like burn his sigil over a candle flame. And so like, tell me your name or I'll burn you. And the demon there will be just like saying, dude, my name is Marbus. Dude, I told you I'm Marbus. Well, not in those words, but it sort of is, if you call your friend Jimmy over and Jimmy comes and you're like kicking him in the balls, it's like, tell me your name. It's like, dude, you invited me over. I'm Jimmy. You get what I mean. If there's an impersonator, it's very easy to find out because they'll just tell you like, oh, you will be this great man with all of your dreams fulfilled. And, these impersonators, that's all they do. They just give you nonsense. You will just know straight away if you have a bullshitter in front of you. It's like with scam callers from India or something. You just know. It's not very hard, so don't worry about that. And 99% of the times, the spirit you called will actually come. Now, you have spoken your intent. You perhaps see, hear, or sense him. Most of the time, it is you just sensing a presence being there. And once that connection is established, like just, okay, I know someone's here. I can't hear him. I can't see him. Doesn't matter. State your intent again, and then you can speak to the demon, and that means you don't have to keep it in past tense anymore. You don't have to word everything in an archaic kind of language. You can just speak as normal. And one important thing to know here is that emotions are a language of the spirit world. So if you really want something, feel it. If you're disgusted by something, feel the disgust. Yeah? So sort of like, I'm in this situation and I really hate it, feel that. And then I want to get out of the situation. And my end result shall be this and this. And then you feel that. So emotions are a language of the spirit world. And if you fear the spirit because it has the Christian label demon attached to it, then I'm very sorry, most of the demons will react in kind. So as I said in the previous video, it's like with dogs. If you fear dogs, dogs will smell it and will react with aggression. And it's the same for demons. And even if you have it in the back of your mind and you think you don't feel it, but it's back there, this might manifest years later with future evocations that they then suddenly turn on you. That can happen. Which is why I really suggested working on yourself and getting that Abrahamic sludge out of you. This absolute nonsense. Remember that these religions are inherently magical. The Abrahamic religions, black magical actually. They are dark sorcery. And only for a select few do they allow the black sorcery, while instilling fear of magic into the wider population, because they want the magic for themselves. They don't want anyone else to be as mighty as them. That is the reason. So, and that's why they cast the name demon, that label, onto our gods, which are really, really lovely and a part of us. Not all of them are lovely, obviously. We have to have gods which are really fierce, but they are friends, they are protectors, they come from us, they are within our blood. With the Goetic spirits, obviously these are sometimes from foreign traditions, sometimes not, and sometimes it's so obscure, but there's such a great part of our own tradition for a long time. I know that's the same argument as having like a Christian civilization, but they do respond well. And of course, if you can go for the pagan gods and goddesses, go for it. But I have found no near equivalents as the Goetic spirits to work with, because gods can be quite aloof. Although you've done rituals perfectly with the gods, they can just simply ignore you. Although you've done everything right. And the Goetic demons are a very workable tradition. So now, when you're done with your little speech to the demon, and perhaps you get, the more you train this, you perhaps will get answers within the evocation. That is actually the goal here, so that you have a real conversation back and forth and not just one-sided. Then you can do the license to depart. So there are some like specific wordings, again, research online, but I literally just say, Spirit so-and-so, like, oh, great Baal, you have the license to depart. That's it. There's nothing special to it. You don't have to stare at the sigil. Nothing of the sorts. And then you can just simply clean up your ritual space and leave the place. Now that is sort of my outline. It was a longer video than I actually expected, because the actions in itself, well, the ritual can be quite long, but the action itself just goes really quickly. It's not very long-winded. Sort of like, yeah, when you do your circle and you call and whatnot, that is a matter of a few minutes. Obviously, if you're a beginner, you might not know sometimes when the sigil is imprinted on your heart. For me, I feel like a jolt within me when that happens, when I know that I have absorbed the sigil. But essentially, I like to see magic as like a martial arts in comparison. It is through training that you just get better. So even if you are like, my first ritual, I noticed nothing, I felt nothing, I don't know if I just talked to empty space, always assume that you're not talking to empty space. Even if that perhaps is the case, that you're just not ready for the ritual. Just repeat the rituals, just repeat, just repeat. It's like the word kung fu, which just means constant practicing. That's the translation of it. And that's how you do it. You just constant practice and the result will come. So that is my general outline of how to perform a Goetic evocation. And if you're perhaps one of the impatient sort, you can always book me for demonic magic. I even do angel magic. Might go into that in a future series. I do magic with landwetter, so spirits of the land, and all sorts of kind of spirits, Olympic spirits, servitor magic. I do simple sigil magic, and so on and so forth. If you would like me to take over that part, because you might not want to train 1 or 2, 3 years to finally get there, I can help you in the meantime, no problem. I don't do empowerments of your magics because I simply have not found a way to do it, although there are instructions. I struggle with it. Maybe in the future I will. I obviously do offer astrology and tarot readings. So if you want to book me there, the link is below, starsandwands.com, or you can just send me a direct message. Well, you can send me an email at starsandwands@gmx.net. You can find me on Facebook, Instagram, and TikTok. Obviously, always as Stars and Wands with my logo. And I really hope you enjoyed this video. Please like, comment, and subscribe. And I hope to see you in the next one.